The mains are toast, the rods are weak, so we're blueprinting this engine. Welcome back to Mad Scientist Garage. Where we left off on this thing, the 455 for my 75 Firebird, I pulled some of the main bearings off and discovered that it looks like someone used sand for oil. So because this is an original 75 Trans Am, or I guess 76 Trans Am block, I would like for it to last. I actually want to road trip this car. I like doing things kind of budget on the cheap, so I just want to go through, get a little bit better rods, fix some of the oiling issues that Pontiacs are known to have, and have everything spec'd out so I don't have to build this engine twice. Because of that, I have reached out to my friends at Butler Performance, and I will be sending this down to them to have all the machining checked out, bores checked out, and they can kind of let me know if the pistons that are in here, which appear to be like some Speed Pro 30 over pistons, can be reused or not. So for the little bit of extra time and money spent, not only will this be a little bit stouter of an engine than just your run-of-the-mill 455, but it should last a long time with the cam and all the other components I have selected. And at a level of 4 to 450 horsepower, conservatively, that's really good news, especially for an old-school car. So next steps, I need to pull the rotating assembly out, label all of the pistons one by one, and kind of bag it up and start making a crate to send it off. Let's jump in. For anyone who has not done an engine teardown like this before, it's very important to keep your main and your rod caps in order and do not 180 them, as they are actually machined and matched to each individual journal on the crank. I am not planning to reuse these rods, at least in this engine, since they are kind of a weaker variety. The cranking rods are probably usable, but because these have some oiling issues, that kind of contributed to the bottom end getting knocked out prematurely after it had been rebuilt. So since we want some longevity, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of extra money in there, and it's going to stand up a lot more to the abuse.
Time is wasted. I took 10 paces and I gotta face this. So now I'm heading west out of town. And not to mention, I did not question the things I didn't have to ask. Like, can you feel the wind at our back? Or do you know who's in control? Leave it all behind. The places you've been to, the people who knew you, and put yourself into another life when nothing is calling. You know you've been longing for something that'll give you more. So you better head out for the
It is much worse than I thought. Check this out. You can see all the copper coming through there, and there's really heavy scoring on one side. You kind of see a groove like there was either something in there or it just had an imperfection in the bearing. But this thing is cooked. I'm super glad I'm taking this apart. Stuff like this, you can usually check with a plastic gauge, but when it's visual like this, start over. Otherwise, you're going to be buying a whole new engine real soon. Got all the rods out of the engine from front to back. Wow, these bearings are toast. It gets a little bit better the closer you get to the oil pump, but man, there is tons of copper in every single one of these. A lot of them kind of next to that oiling groove are actually pretty scored. So it looks like there was a lot of probably contaminant or material getting into these things. Actually from the oiling ports on the crank, you can see here and here. So I suspect maybe this was a good rebuild that just wasn't maintained, unfortunately. Not to mention these engines are well known to have oiling problems, which I am going to resolve. Block is all torn down and ready to start packaging up. Couple shadows in the bores, but I'm not seeing any scoring, rust, pitting, anything super concerning. Might clean up with a hone. We'll find out. Yeah, mains definitely deserve to be replaced. So given that this has done enough damage to the crank and the rods are kind of weak, I'm spending a little bit of extra money just to have it machined, buy it all once, and it'll be a lot safer to make the kind of power I want to make reliably, which is kind of huge. I'm going to road trip this car same as I did before, so while 400 plus horsepower is a must, so is reliability. So I don't want to have this thing broke down on the side of a road. For that reason, I'm going with a reputable company, Butler, and we're going to put the right stuff into it the first time.